Hello, welcome to another episode of Techspert When I Can Be Arsed. Although, can I just point out, this is the third week in a row now that I've done one of these shows, no skips, so all of you doubters, put that in your pipe and shove it up your arse. And in this week's excuse for a show, we have a good hard squint at the Samsung Galaxy S26 Plus. Originally rumoured to be axed in favour of a new Edge phone, but now apparently once again alive and well and optionally in your pants in just 3 short months. And we've also got a wee review of Boox's latest Palma 2 Pro, which is kind of like if a Kindle and a smartphone got merged in that telepod jobby from The Fly, except they don't get it on with Gina Davis or horrifically gob all over some dude's hand. And there should be just enough time for me to be compared with hairless football managers and repeatedly told I'm not funny in this week's viewer comments. Jingle me. Techspert Weekly. Now, Samsung typically launches 3 flavours of flagship phone, and this year was no different, with a regular Galaxy S25, an S25 Plus and an S25 Ultra. However, hushed internet chat from just last month reckoned that Samsung may have got a bit mental for the upcoming S26 series and killed off its beloved plus-size model, replacing it instead with a slender S26 Edge. However, shock horror, it turns out that not everything you read on the internet is solid gold truth. Not even if it's posted by some bloke on Reddit with an anime face avatar who writes all in caps. We pretty much know for sure that the Plus model will be back for the S26 series thanks to these leaked renders, courtesy of Chief Leaky Bloke on Leaks. So rumours of the Galaxy S26 Edge replacing that Plus model might have just been a big ol' heap of bollocks, or maybe Samsung did actually change its mind, because let's face it, the Galaxy S25 Edge didn't exactly sell like hotcakes. In fact, it sold like cakes liberally decorated with James Corden's face. That said, it does seem kind of unlikely that Samsung would be able to change its plans this close to launch. So who knows, maybe we will still see a Galaxy S26 Edge launched alongside the original trio, or perhaps at a later date, just like the S25 Edge. Either way, my arse is clenched so tightly in anticipation that for the next 3 months I'll be walking like Liza Minnelli. Now, we don't know much about the Galaxy S26 Plus thus far, but these renders do show off a blower that looks remarkably similar to the S25 Plus, except with an old school joined up camera bump. Rumours point to yet another 6.7-inch AMOLED 2X display with 1440p resolution, basically the same as what Samsung shoved on its S25 Plus, except probably a tiny wee bit brighter as usual. Meanwhile, the brains of the operation should be Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 if you live in Trumpland, or Samsung's own Exynos 2600 for us lot here in Blighty. So here's hoping that that Exynos 2600 is just as ruddy good as early reports indicate. In fact, early benchmarks report that the Exynos 2600 is somehow more powerful than the Snapdragon 8 Elite, which is absolutely bonkers if true. I mean, that would be so backwards, it would be like Ariana Grande punching out The Rock. And apparently Samsung has massively upgraded the ISP as well, so not only is it more energy efficient for the Exynos 2600, but also it can apparently process up to 30 108 megapixel raw images per second, as well as 8K video at 60 frames per second. Now, from the rest of the leaks so far, it appears that Samsung might mostly stick with those S25 Plus specs for this latest generation. And that includes a 4900 mAh battery with 45 watt charging support, as well as a very similar camera arrangement, relying instead on those ISP and software updates to improve the photo and video output. So my lovelies, are you pleased to see another S-series plus-sized blower lingering on the horizon, or are you all about that Edge? Well, hey, maybe you couldn't give a flying toss and you're just watching these shows to see how long I can go before having a complete and total meltdown. Well, whatever's happening in that lovely wee head of yours, definitely let us know down in the comments below. And now it's time for Uncle Spurt's Wee One. Uncle Spurt's Wee One. It's a short review, not his penis. Is it a phone? Is it a Kindle? Is it Selena Gomez smothered in cake batter, winking in a provocative manner while furiously marinading a leg of lamb? Well, it's definitely not the third one, but a saggy-faced baldy can dream. No, the Boox Palma 2 Pro is actually the love child of the first two, a proper pocket-sized e-reader slash smartphone. This mini boredom buster may sport a compact 6.18-inch screen, but it is bigger than most smartphones sadly, thanks to those mega chonk bezels. But still, I do adore that textured back end which feels almost paper-like. In fact, no, it actually feels like the super rough bog roll that my nan used to buy from Netto. Ah, nostalgia. And hey, as a special treat, here's a super quick break for some lovely ASMR. Now, unlike previous Palma handhelds like this, you now do have full SIM support. Although it is data only, so the Boox Palma 2 Pro can't make traditional phone calls, but of course you can still make calls over data using apps like WhatsApp. Now the Palma 2 Pro is also running old Android 15, but you can still install basically any app you like from the Google Play Store, including games like Call of Duty Mobile if you want to severely handicap yourself even further against the legions of unwashed homework dodging school kids who play the bloody thing for 7 hours a day. Well, I'm a knackered old git playing on a Kindle and I just shot you in the face, so ha. That e-ink screen spaffs out 300 pixel per inch visuals in monochrome mode, but also kind of supports washed out colour at a reduced 150 ppi. Obviously not the ideal way to enjoy a graphic novel or a comic. You can just about work out what's going on in these tiny wee frames. Of course the contrast ain't great, even in high contrast mode, but I found I could still comfortably read Kindle books outside, even when those clouds buggered off and the sun finally peeked on through for a few minutes. Thanks to the Palma 2 Pro's low-powered screen and its near 4000 mAh battery, you'll comfortably enjoy a full weekend of playtime, even with plenty of screen on action from a full charge. Add in full stylus support and you've got yourself a nifty wee digital notepad too. Now of course I have seen some balky behaviour on this thing, so for instance the Palma 2 Pro metaphorically shat its metaphorical pants when trying to download large files over Wi-Fi occasionally, and some of the visuals occasionally bollocks up like the Spotify app icon for some reason, as well as those book covers in the library app. I've also experienced a couple of full-on system crashes while that rear 16 megapixel camera is kinda cack. But hey, if you fancy yourself a mini Kindle for your next smartphone, give it a squint. Oh, and hey, Selena, if you're watching and you'd like to collab on some kind of lamb marinading video, well, definitely feel free to hit me up. It's unclespurt@myspace.com. Otherwise, just leave a comment down below and get in touch. And speaking of comments, viewer comments.
Do you know who I am?
So let's start this week with Neely, who says, I do love Uncle Spurt's self-censorship. We're allowed piss, twat and bollocks, but we're protected from shit and f***. Occasionally we get some more sensitive folk accidentally stumbling upon these videos, and of course their ears immediately burst into flame at all of my harsh language. So I do try and bleep out the worst of it, but frankly I can't be f***ed to censor every last naughty word. Plus, some words, like twat, are just inherently funny. Twat. Whoever invented that one frankly deserves a Nobel Prize. And while we're on the subject, I really still don't understand how you can actually exist on the internet and be offended by anything, really, given the whole thing's just a massive flaming slinging show. But yeah, there you have it. Void5151 says, you look like a UK version of Eli the Computer Guy. Gotta admit, no clue on earth what an Eli the Computer Guy is. Google to the rescue, looks like he's another tech twat on YouTube. Oh, introduction to AI with SQL, boner time. I used to do all that stuff back in the day before I became a YouTube tech twat. This is basically me in a parallel universe. Steve Bacon says, Pep Guardiola from Temu. Yeah, 100% fair. Mythic Sun says, in next week's episode, Chris finally sobers up and starts to wonder what happened to the last 15 years. It has actually been, just over 15 years since I first signed my life away and became a tech journalist. Back over at Future Publishing, working on What Laptop magazine, not because I particularly liked laptops, but because I wanted full access to those free all-night media bars. And that's the point where everything becomes a little bit hazy. But yeah, at some point I might actually sober up and realize that in those 15 years, I got married and had a kid and well and truly capitulated in my battle against hair loss. And that's why I'm sticking to the strategy of constant heavy drinking. Marco D says, your jokes are refreshing like warm beer. Well, as a self-affirmed alcoholic, I am absolutely down with warm beer. It doesn't matter if it's warm, if it's frozen, if it comes in pill form. As long as it's boozy, I'll stick it in me. SLKWR7QY says, do you have a tech shelf like every other tech reviewer? I don't even have a shelf, mate. I've got a literal pile. That is it. I'm such a crap YouTuber. Kiss007 says, looking forward to that Edge 70 review. Well, I can only say, hope it wasn't a massive disappointment. That one went live on Wednesday, I believe it was. And if you haven't seen it, well, instantly block out the 20 minutes following watching this video and strap yourself in with a spare pair of pants, because it's the YouTube sensation of the year. So of course the OnePlus 15 just launched this week. My full review of that bad boy also went live on Thursday this time. But in last week's show we discussed the cheaper OnePlus 15R with more moderate specs for a cheaper asking price. Was expected to basically be a rebranded version of the OnePlus Ace 6. And Samu999 says, I'm in China at the moment and I bought the Ace 6. That 7,800 mAh battery is a monster. It's literally a 2-day phone, almost unkillable with 2-day heavy usage. Not many cameras, but it's fine. The main 50 meg camera does a good job. I'm certainly looking forward to testing that OnePlus 15 or the global model when that arrives. Definitely stay tuned for a proper bit of funnily action with that bad boy. Michael W says, I see that you two are a man of culture and refined taste, declaring salt and vinegar crisps to be top tier flavour. I completely agree, though as a Canadian, I am legally obliged to recommend both ketchup flavour and all dressed. Yeah, ketchup can be okay depending on the brand, but that's definitely more of a tier 3, tier 4 flavour, I gotta say. And all dressed, I've never even heard of. That's definitely Google to the rescue again. Okay, so all dressed, or in French, tout garni, is a potato chip flavour popular in Canada. A combination of ketchup, barbecue, sour cream and onion, and salt and vinegar. Jesus bloody Nora, why not just hoist some maple syrup on there and be done with it? I've got to admit, I'm kind of intrigued. I'll definitely have to try them next time I'm over in good old Canada way. Mellow64 says, how many phones have the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 currently? Quiz time, kiddies. Okay, so the OnePlus 15 and the Red Magic 11 Pro are the two phones that I've personally tested with it in. There's also a couple of others that I may possibly be in the process of testing out that I can't actually talk about under embargo way. It's also going to be stuffed inside of the iQOO 15, the Red Magic 8 Pro, a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, right now, not very many. Better make this the last one for the week. The Master 711 says, I'm going on a trip to London over the Christmas holidays just to get away from the family. Even convinced my wife to watch Millwall versus Ipswich with me on the 26th. I mean, frankly, I would gladly watch a Millwall match at Millwall rather than being stuck in the house with not just my parents, but also the wife's parents this festive season. When it all collapses into a horrendous political rage bait scream fest as expected, I'll be hiding up in the attic with whatever's left of the port and whiskey. Anyway, still a few weeks until that extravaganza, huzzah. But anyway, a massive thank you to everyone who commented last week. Please do put your comments down below in the little comments box bit, and we'll get through as many of those as possible next weekend. Speaking of next week, what the f is next week? Okay, so next week, hoping to finally pump out my Vivo X300 Pro and X300 video, which I've been working on for a wee while now. Sorry, there's been so much other stuff going on. Took me a bit of time to get to it. Actually, doesn't seem to be any embargoes lifting next week, which is a minor miracle, but I do have the dentist for a fill-in. Hooray, can't bloody wait. And hey, hoping to make it 4 weeks on the trot for a bit of TechSpert weekly action. So, you know, come sit on your Uncle Spert's lap same time next week for a bit more of whatever this is. In the meantime, a massive thank you, as always, from my heart for watching this shower of shit to the bitter end. Please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell if you're not averse to more of this, and have yourselves a ruddy wonderful weekend. Cheers everybody, love you.